Here is something you've been feeling lately and you haven't been able to explain it. It didn't arrive with noise. It didn't come with a clear warning. It slipped in quietly, almost unnoticed at first. A heaviness, a tension, a strange disturbance in your spirit that doesn't match your environment. Nothing around you looks drastically wrong, yet something inside you feels unsettled. And you've been asking yourself, why do I feel like this? Why does your mind suddenly race at night, even when your body is tired? Why do small things feel heavier than they should? Why does your peace feel like it's slipping through your fingers even in moments that should feel calm? This is where most people ignore the signal. This is where most people distract themselves, scroll past the feeling, or try to push through it. But you didn't scroll past this message. And that alone tells you something. Because what you're feeling right now is not random. It is not just stress. It is not just overthinking. It is not just a phase. There is a spiritual disturbance targeting your peace. And the moment you begin to recognize it, everything starts to make sense. Archangel Michael steps forward now, not gently, but with clarity and authority. His presence is not subtle. It cuts through confusion like a blade through fog. And what he reveals may shift the way you see your current situation forever. What you are feeling is not weakness. It is awareness. Yes, awareness. Because before a spiritual attack becomes visible, it becomes felt. It begins in your thoughts. It whispers into your emotions. It creates a subtle pressure in your spirit, just enough to distract you, but not enough to alarm you unless you are sensitive. And you are sensitive. That's why you notice the shift. That's why your peace feels off even when everything looks normal. That's why you can't fully relax, even when nothing obvious is wrong. Because something is happening, just not in the physical. There is an unseen pressure trying to pull you out of alignment, trying to cloud your clarity, trying to drain your energy, trying to make you question yourself quietly, subtly, persistently. And here's the part that makes this even more real. This didn't start today. If you think back carefully, you'll realize this feeling has been building. Maybe it started as small irritation, and it became mental noise, and emotional heaviness. And now it feels like your inner peace is under pressure. That progression is not accidental. It is strategic. Because spiritual attacks rarely come as chaos first, they come as disruption. Disruption in your focus. Disruption in your emotions. Disruption in your peace. And once your peace is shaken, everything else becomes easier to influence. But here's what you were never meant to realize so quickly. The fact that you are aware of this means you are already resisting it. You are not as vulnerable as you feel. In fact, you are being alerted. Because Archangel Michael does not step in for no reason. When his presence is near, it means something is being revealed before it fully manifests. And right now, he is revealing this truth to you. Your peace is not disappearing. It is being targeted. That changes everything. Because now you are no longer confused. Now you are conscious. Now you can see the pattern forming. Now you can feel the difference between your true peace and the pressure trying to replace it. So don't ignore this feeling anymore. Don't brush it off. Don't silence your intuition just to stay comfortable. Because this moment, right here, is the beginning of your awareness. And awareness is the first step to breaking any spiritual attack. Stay with this message. Because what Archangel Michael is about to reveal next will expose exactly how this attack is working, and how you can stop it before it goes any further. You are not losing your peace. You are being shown who, or what, is trying to take it. And once you see it clearly, it loses its power. Type "I am protected" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 717 is now activated around you. What is happening to you right now is not just emotional, it is mental, and it is deeply spiritual. There is a battle forming in a place most people never think to guard: your mind. Not your circumstances, not your environment, not even your actions at first. The attack begins in your thoughts, because whoever influences your mind eventually influences your direction. And lately, something has been trying to quietly take control of that space. You may have noticed it without fully understanding it. The way your thoughts have become louder, more persistent, more intrusive. The way certain worries repeat themselves without resolution. The way your mind replays conversations, imagines outcomes, or questions decisions that once felt clear. This is not coincidence. This is not random mental drift. This is targeted interference. Archangel Michael speaks with unmistakable authority in this moment, and his message cuts straight through the confusion. The battlefield is your mind, because your peace lives there. And that is why the attack does not come in obvious forms. It comes as overthinking disguised as concern. It comes as doubt disguised as logic. It comes as fear disguised as preparation. It wears familiar voices, sometimes even your own, so you don't immediately recognize it as something foreign. But the effect is always the same. It pulls you out of stillness. It pulls you out of clarity. It pulls you away from the quiet confidence you once carried. You may have caught yourself saying, "I don't know why I feel like this," or "Why can't I just relax?" That confusion is part of the strategy. Because when your mind is clouded, your discernment weakens. When your thoughts are scattered, your energy follows. And when your energy is drained, your peace becomes fragile. That is the progression. It is subtle, but it is precise. This is not about making you panic. This is about making you uncertain. Because uncertainty is the doorway through which fear enters. And once fear enters, it begins to rewrite your internal narrative. It questions your progress. It distorts your perception. It makes you second-guess things that once felt right. It even tries to convince you that the peace you had before was never real. But listen carefully to this truth, because it will ground you. Your peace was real, and it is still yours. What you are experiencing now is not the loss of peace, but the presence of pressure trying to replace it. Archangel Michael reveals something deeper now. He shows that not every thought you have originates from you. This is where awareness becomes critical. Because if you assume every thought is yours, you will begin to identify with things that were never meant to define you. You will start owning doubts that were planted. You will start carrying fears that were introduced. And over time, those thoughts begin to shape your emotions, your decisions, and your behavior. That is how the invisible battle becomes visible in your life. You may have noticed a pattern recently. Moments where you felt calm, and then suddenly a wave of unease appeared without a clear reason. Or times when you were focused, and then your mind drifted into worry or negativity. Those interruptions are not harmless. They are entry points. And the more they are entertained, the stronger they become. But the moment you recognize them, the pattern begins to break. Because awareness disrupts the cycle. Michael's presence intensifies here, not to alarm you, but to empower you. He is not showing you this battle so you feel overwhelmed. He's revealing it so you regain control. Because once you see that the attack is targeting your thoughts, you stop reacting blindly. You start observing. You start discerning. You begin to separate what is truly yours from what is being projected onto you. And that is where your power returns. because you were never meant to fight every thought. You were meant to recognize which ones deserve your attention. The moment you stop feeding the wrong thoughts, they begin to weaken. The moment you stop agreeing with fear, it loses its influence. The moment you return to stillness, your clarity begins to restore itself. This is the turning point. You are no longer unaware of what is happening. You are no longer lost in the noise of your own mind. You are beginning to see the pattern, and that awareness is shifting something in your spirit already. The battle may be invisible, but your response does not have to be. You are being guided to reclaim your mental space, to guard your peace, and to recognize that not everything you think is meant to stay. Archangel Michael stands firm beside you, and his message is clear. Your mind is not a battlefield you are losing. It is a space you are learning to protect. And as you continue forward, what once felt overwhelming will begin to feel manageable, because you are no longer fighting blindly. You are seeing clearly. Type "I claim my peace" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 818 is now activated. There is a reason this is happening now, and until you understand this part, everything will feel confusing, overwhelming, and even personal in ways that were never meant to burden you. Because what you are experiencing is not random pressure, and it is not meaningless disruption. It is timed, it is strategic, and most importantly, is connected to where you are spiritually right now. You have entered a phase in your life where something is beginning to shift within you. It may not be fully visible yet, and you may not even have the words to describe it, but there is growth taking place. There is a deeper awareness forming. There is a change in how you think, how you respond, and how you see the world around you. And that kind of internal shift does not go unnoticed in the spiritual realm. Archangel Michael makes this very clear as his voice rises with firm authority. Your peace is being targeted because your elevation has begun. This is not about where you are physically. It is about where you are becoming spiritually. Because the moment you begin to outgrow old patterns, old mindsets, and old limitations, there is resistance. Not because you are doing something wrong, but because you are moving in the right direction. Think about what has changed recently. You have started seeing things differently. You have started pulling away from certain habits, certain conversations, even certain people. You have felt the need for more clarity, more quiet, more alignment. You are no longer as comfortable in the same environments that once felt normal. And while this growth is necessary, it also creates tension. Because growth disrupts what is familiar, and anything that disrupts the familiar will always face resistance. This is why your peace is under pressure right now. Because peace is your foundation. It is the place where clarity lives. It is the environment where your intuition becomes stronger. And if that peace is shaken, then your ability to stay aligned becomes more difficult. That is the strategy. Not to destroy you, but to distract you. Not to break you, but to slow you down. Because if your focus is scattered, your progress becomes inconsistent. But here is what you must understand, and this is where everything begins to shift. The attack is not a sign that you are weak. It is evidence that you are advancing. Because there is nothing valuable about staying the same. There is nothing significant about remaining stuck. The pressure you feel is not because you are failing. It is because you are changing. Archangel Michael reveals something deeper now, something that most people never realize. He shows that every level of growth requires a new level of awareness. And when that awareness begins to rise, it disrupts anything that no longer aligns with who you are becoming. A disruption can feel uncomfortable. It can feel like confusion. It can feel like emotional instability. But in truth, it is a realignment. You are being pulled out of an old version of yourself. And anything that tries to keep you there will create resistance. This is why certain thoughts have intensified. This is why certain emotions feel heavier. This is why your peace feels like it is being tested. Because the moment you begin to step into a higher level of clarity, anything that thrives in confusion will try to pull you back. But it cannot pull you back if you understand what is happening. And now you do. This is not your breakdown. This is your transition. You are not losing your peace. You are learning how to protect it at a higher level. And once you see it this way, something shifts inside you. The pressure no longer feels like something you need to escape. It becomes something you recognize, something you understand, something you no longer allow to control your reactions. Because now, you are not reacting blindly. You are responding with awareness. And that awareness changes everything. Archangel Michael stands as your protector in this moment, and his message is unwavering. Do not mistake resistance for defeat. What you are facing is confirmation that you are moving forward. This is your turning point. This is where you stop questioning yourself and start trusting what you are becoming. Because what is ahead of you requires a stronger version of you. A more aware version. A more grounded version. A version that does not easily lose peace when pressure appears. And that is exactly who you are becoming right now. So do not retreat. Do not doubt yourself. Do not assume something is wrong just because it feels uncomfortable. Because this discomfort is not here to stop you. It is here to prepare you. And once you move through this phase with awareness, you will notice something powerful. The same things that once disturbed your peace will begin to lose their effect. The same thoughts that once overwhelmed you will begin to fade. The same pressure that once felt heavy will begin to feel manageable. Because you are no longer the same. You are evolving. You are rising. And your peace is learning how to stand at a higher level. Type "I am rising in peace" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 909 is now activated. As this truth settles into your spirit, understand this. Every time you choose to stand in your peace, you become a light for someone still trapped in confusion. This message is not just reaching you. It is meant to reach others who are silently battling the same unseen pressure. When you support this mission through super thanks with a PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a platform. You are sowing seeds into souls that are waiting for clarity and breakthrough. The word declares, "Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy," and right now, your giving becomes a harvest of peace in someone else's life. I feel this invitation deeply, and I respond not just with understanding, but with action. This is not a donation. It is alignment with a divine assignment. As you release your seed, heaven multiplies your peace, your clarity, and your protection. Step into this moment and act. Before you understood that your peace was being targeted, there were signs. Quiet, subtle signals that something was shifting beneath the surface. They did not arrive loudly. They did not force your attention. They appeared gently, almost easy to dismiss, and that is exactly why they were so dangerous. Because the most effective disruptions are the ones that feel normal enough to ignore. Think back for a moment. There were small changes in your energy that you brushed aside. Moments where you felt slightly off, but told yourself it was just a long day. Times when your mood shifted without a clear reason, and you tried to explain it away. You may have felt more drained than usual, even after rest. You may have noticed that things that once felt easy suddenly required more effort. These were not random fluctuations. These were early indicators that something was interfering with your inner balance. Archangel Michael reveals this with clarity. his voice steady and precise. The signs were given to you early, but they were wrapped in subtlety. This is how spiritual interference begins. Not with chaos, but with quiet misalignment. Because if the disruption is small enough, it slips past your awareness. And if it slips past your awareness, it gains time. Time to grow. Time to deepen. Time to slowly pull you out of the state of peace you were once grounded in. One of the first signs you experienced was mental distraction. You may have noticed it as difficulty focusing, or as a tendency to drift into unnecessary thoughts. Tasks that once held your attention became harder to complete. Conversations felt harder to stay present in. Even moments of rest felt restless. This was not just a lapse in concentration. It was a shift in your mental environment. Because when your focus weakens, your awareness follows. And when your awareness lowers, your guard becomes less effective. Another sign appeared in your emotional state. There were moments where your reactions felt slightly stronger than usual. Small frustrations carried more weight. Minor inconveniences felt more significant. You may have even questioned yourself, wondering why your patience seemed thinner or why your emotional balance felt inconsistent. This was not a flaw in your character. It was pressure being applied to your emotional stability. And emotional instability is one of the quickest ways to disturb your peace. And there was the sense of disconnection, not necessarily from others but from yourself. A feeling that something was not fully aligned internally. You may have felt less certain about things that once felt clear. Decisions felt heavier. Even your intuition, which once guided you easily, may have felt quieter or harder to trust. This disconnection is one of the most overlooked signs because it does not announce itself. It simply creates a subtle distance between you and your own clarity. Archangel Michael emphasizes this moment with a deeper truth. What you ignored was not insignificant. It was the beginning of awareness trying to reach you. Because those subtle signs were not meant to confuse you. They were meant to alert you. But when awareness is not recognized, it becomes discomfort. And when discomfort is ignored, it becomes disruption. You may also recall moments where your energy felt unusually low around certain people or in certain environments. Situations that once felt neutral began to feel draining. Conversations left you feeling unsettled instead of uplifted. You may not have had a clear reason for it, but you felt it. That feeling was not imagination. It was discernment trying to surface. Because your spirit recognizes shifts before your mind fully understands them. Another sign was the repetition of certain thoughts. The same concerns appearing again and again, even when they had no resolution. This repetition creates a loop, and that loop slowly pulls your focus away from the present moment. It anchors your attention in uncertainty, which weakens your sense of stability. And once stability is weakened, peace becomes harder to maintain. All of these signs were connected. They were not isolated experiences. They were part of a pattern forming beneath your awareness. And now, as you look back, you can begin to see how they progressed. From small distractions to deeper disturbances. From slight discomfort to noticeable pressure. The progression was gradual, but it was intentional. But here's where everything changes. Now you are aware. Now you can recognize those same signs if they appear again. Now you can respond before they grow into something stronger. Archangel Michael stands firm in this realization, and his message carries both strength and reassurance. Awareness transforms subtle attacks into powerless attempts. Because once you see the pattern, it loses its ability to operate unnoticed. It loses its advantage. It loses its influence over your reactions. You are no longer overlooking the signs. You are no longer dismissing what your spirit is trying to show you. You are beginning to trust what you feel, to observe what you think, and to recognize when something is not aligned with your peace. This is not just awareness. This is protection in motion. Because the same subtle signs that once went unnoticed are now becoming your early warnings. And those warnings allow you to stay grounded, to stay clear, and to remain in control of your inner state. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly at the point where recognition begins. And recognition is what prevents repetition. Type ISE clearly now in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 626 is now activated. Now that your awareness has been awakened to the subtle signs, there is a deeper truth you must understand. Because awareness alone is not enough. You must also recognize the strategy behind what you are experiencing. Because once you understand the strategy, you stop feeling confused by the experience. You stop taking it personally. You stop reacting emotionally. And you begin to see it for what it truly is. This is not random interference. This is strategy. Archangel Michael reveals this with piercing clarity, his voice steady and unmistakable. The attack is not designed to destroy you immediately. It is designed to distract you gradually and distort you quietly. And this is where most people lose their footing, because distraction does not feel dangerous at first. It feels normal. It feels manageable. It feels like something you can handle. But over time, it shifts your focus, and once your focus is shifted, everything else begins to follow. Distraction is the first layer. It pulls your attention away from what matters. It fills your mind with unnecessary thoughts. It keeps you occupied with things that do not serve your growth. You may have noticed how easily your attention drifts now. How quickly your mind jumps from one thought to another. How difficult it has become to stay present in a single moment. That is not a lack of discipline. That is intentional distraction. Because when your attention is scattered, your energy becomes scattered. And when your energy is scattered, your peace becomes unstable. This is how the enemy operates. Not by forcing chaos into your life, but by slowly redirecting your focus away from clarity. Because clarity is your strength. Clarity keeps you grounded. Clarity allows you to see truth without distortion. And if that clarity is weakened, even slightly, confusion begins to take its place. And that is where distortion begins. Distortion is the second layer, and it is more subtle than distraction. Because once your focus has been shifted, your perception becomes vulnerable. You begin to interpret things differently. You begin to question what you once understood. You begin to see situations through a lens that is no longer clear. This is where overthinking is introduced. This is where doubt begins to take root. This is where your mind starts creating scenarios that are not grounded in truth, but feel real enough to affect your emotions. You may have experienced this recently. Moments where your thoughts led you into conclusions that felt convincing, even though they were not based on clear evidence. Moments where you questioned your own judgment, your own decisions, even your own identity. That is distortion at work. Archangel Michael speaks firmly here. Distortion does not change reality. It changes how you perceive it. And once your perception is altered, your emotional response follows. You begin to react to things that are not fully real. You begin to carry weight that was never meant for you. And slowly, your peace becomes compromised. But there is another layer to this strategy. It is repetition. Because distraction and distortion alone are not enough to sustain the attack. They must be repeated. The same thoughts appearing again and again. The same doubts resurfacing. The same emotional triggers being activated. This repetition is not accidental. It is reinforcement. Because the more a thought repeats, the more familiar it becomes. And the more familiar it becomes, the more real it begins to feel. But familiarity does not equal truth. And this is where your awareness becomes your defense. Because now you can see the pattern. And now you can recognize when your attention is being pulled unnecessarily. Now you can notice when your thoughts begin to drift into distortion. Now you can interrupt the repetition before it takes hold. This is the shift. You are no longer inside the strategy. You are observing it. And observation changes everything. Because the moment you observe something clearly, it loses its control over you. Archangel Michael stands with unwavering presence, and his message carries power in this moment. You were never meant to fight distraction with force. You were meant to outgrow it with awareness. That means you do not need to battle every thought. You do not need to argue with every feeling. You simply need to recognize what aligns with your peace and what does not. And once you recognize it, you release it. This is where your strength returns. Because your peace was never fragile. It was simply being redirected. And now, you are redirecting it back. Back to clarity. Back to stillness. Back to control. You are not powerless in this. You are learning. You are adjusting. You are becoming more aware of how your mind operates and how your peace is influenced. And this awareness is not temporary. It is a new level of understanding, a new level of control, a new level of alignment. The strategy may still exist, but it no longer operates unnoticed. And once it is seen, it begins to weaken. Because nothing hidden can survive in awareness. You are not being overcome. You are becoming conscious. And consciousness is what restores your peace fully. Type "I reject distortion" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 737 is now activated. Now that you see the pattern, now that you understand the strategy, something begins to shift in the atmosphere around you. Because awareness does not just expose the attack, it invites intervention. And this is the moment where Archangel Michael does not stand at a distance. He steps in, not symbolically, not passively, but with authority. You must understand this clearly, because this is where your perspective changes completely. You are not facing this alone. You were never meant to manage this battle by yourself. The moment your awareness aligned with truth, you activated something greater than your own strength. You activated divine protection. And Archangel Michael responds to that alignment with precision. His presence is not emotional. It is not reactive. It is decisive. And his voice carries a command that cuts through every layer of confusion. What has been influencing you will no longer operate unchecked. This is not a suggestion. This is a declaration. Because once truth is revealed, deception loses its authority to remain hidden. And once deception is exposed, it can no longer function the same way. This is where the shift begins. You may not see it immediately in your environment, but you will begin to feel it internally. The same thoughts that once felt overwhelming will begin to lose their intensity. The same emotional triggers that once pulled you in will begin to weaken. The same sense of pressure that surrounded your peace will begin to lift, slowly but noticeably. This is not coincidence. This is intervention. Archangel Michael does not remove every challenge instantly, because that is not the purpose of his presence. His purpose is to restore your position, to bring you back into alignment, to strengthen your awareness so that what once influenced you no longer has the same access. He fortifies your mind. He sharpens your discernment. He stabilizes your internal state so that external pressures no longer dictate your peace. And this is where your role becomes important. Because intervention does not replace your awareness. It works with it. You are not being removed from the situation. You are being elevated within it. This means you begin to respond differently. Where you once reacted, you now pause. Where you once absorbed every thought, you now filter. Where you once felt overwhelmed, you now observe. This is not a small change. This is transformation. Archangel Michael reveals something powerful here, something that most people overlook. Authority is not proven by control over others. It is revealed by control within yourself. And this is exactly what is being restored in you. Not control in the sense of force, but control in the sense of clarity. The ability to remain grounded regardless of what tries to disturb you. Because the attack was never just about your peace. It was about your response. If your response can be influenced, then your direction can be altered. But now, your response is becoming intentional. And that changes everything. You are no longer reacting to every thought. You are no longer absorbing every emotion. You are no longer allowing every external influence to enter your internal space. You are choosing what stays. You are choosing what matters. You are choosing what aligns. And with every choice, your authority strengthens. This is what Archangel Michael is reinforcing within you. Not dependence, but strength. Not fear, but clarity. Not confusion, but direction. You may notice now that certain things no longer affect you the way they did before. Situations that once triggered you may now feel distant. Thoughts that once consumed your attention may now pass without attachment. This is not you becoming disconnected. This is you becoming protected. Because protection is not just about removing external threats. It is about strengthening your internal foundation. And your foundation is being reinforced right now. Archangel Michael stands firmly in this moment, and his presence carries a sense of finality. What once had access to your peace will no longer move freely within you. This does not mean challenges will disappear. It means their influence will change. They will no longer control your state. They will no longer define your reactions. They will no longer dictate your clarity. Because you are no longer operating at the same level. You have risen above the point where those influences had power. And once you rise, what is below cannot reach you the same way. This is the authority you are stepping into. It is quiet, but it is firm. It is calm, but it is unshakable. It does not need to prove itself, because it is already established. You are not the same person who first felt the disturbance. You are more aware, more grounded, more aligned, and now more protected. So stand in that awareness. Remain in that clarity. Allow this shift to settle within you. Because what Archangel Michael has initiated in this moment is not temporary. It is a restoration of your position. And once your position is restored, your peace is no longer something that can be easily targeted. It becomes something that is firmly held, firmly protected, firmly yours. Type "I stand in authority" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 555 is now activated. Now that your awareness has sharpened and your authority has begun to return, there is one more layer that must be addressed. Because even after you recognize the attack, even after you see the strategy, there is a pattern that can still keep you bound if you do not consciously break it. And that pattern is spiritual exhaustion. This is where many people remain stuck without realizing why. They become aware of the battle. They understand the interference. But they continue operating in the same cycle that drains them. And over time, that cycle weakens their ability to maintain the peace they are trying to protect. Archangel Michael steps forward here with unmistakable clarity, and his voice carries both urgency and precision. Awareness without change will keep you in the same cycle. This is where you must make a decision. Because spiritual exhaustion does not come from one moment. It comes from repetition, repeated overthinking, repeated emotional reactions, repeated engagement with what disturbs your peace, repeated exposure to what drains your energy. And the more this repetition continues, the more your internal state becomes fatigued. Not because you are weak, but because your energy is being spent without restoration. You may have felt this recently in ways you could not fully explain. A tiredness that sleep does not fix. A heaviness that lingers even when nothing is visibly wrong. A sense that you are constantly processing, constantly thinking, constantly trying to manage what you feel. This is not just physical fatigue. This is spiritual exhaustion. And it is one of the most effective ways your peace is weakened. Because when you are exhausted, your awareness dulls. When your awareness dulls, your discernment weakens. And when your discernment weakens, the same patterns begin to repeat without resistance. This is the cycle. And this is what must be broken. Archangel Michael reveals something powerful in this moment. You are not meant to carry everything you notice. This is where many people misunderstand awareness. They believe that noticing everything means they must engage with everything. But that is not true. Awareness is meant to guide you, not burden you. You are not meant to process every thought. You are not meant to analyze every feeling. You are not meant to respond to every situation. Because constant engagement is what creates exhaustion. And exhaustion is what keeps the cycle alive. So what changes now? You begin to choose differently. You begin to recognize when your energy is being pulled unnecessarily. You begin to step back instead of stepping in. You begin to allow certain thoughts to pass without attachment. You begin to disengage from what does not align with your peace. This is not avoidance. This is control. This is you deciding where your energy belongs. And this is how the cycle begins to break. Because the moment you stop feeding what drains you, it loses its ability to continue. Archangel Michael stands firmly in this shift, and his presence reinforces a truth you must hold on to. Peace is not maintained by force. It is maintained by what you allow. That means your peace is not dependent on eliminating every disturbance. It is dependent on your response to those disturbances. You are no longer reacting automatically. You are choosing intentionally. You are no longer engaging out of habit. You are stepping back with awareness. And every time you do this, the cycle weakens. Every time you refuse to overthink, the pattern loosens. Every time you choose stillness instead of reaction, your energy restores. Every time you detach from what drains you, your clarity strengthens. This is the process of breaking spiritual exhaustion. It is not dramatic. It is not sudden. But it is powerful. Because once the cycle is broken, something begins to return to you. Your energy, your clarity, your stability, your peace. You begin to feel lighter, not because everything around you has changed, but because you are no longer carrying what was never meant for you. You are no longer participating in the same patterns that once kept you drained, and that alone creates a shift in your entire internal state. You may already feel it starting. A slight sense of relief, a moment of calm that feels more natural, a thought that passes without pulling you in. These are not small changes. These are signs that the cycle is breaking. And once it breaks, it does not reform the same way, because you are no longer unaware. You are no longer passive. You are no longer repeating without recognizing. You are conscious. You are intentional. You are in control of where your energy flows. And this is where your strength becomes consistent. Not in moments, but in patterns. Not temporarily, but sustainably. Archangel Michael's presence remains steady, and his message is clear. You are not meant to live in exhaustion. You are meant to live in alignment. And alignment is what restores everything that exhaustion tried to take from you. So continue choosing differently. Continue protecting your energy. Continue stepping out of what drains you. Because this is not just a moment of awareness. This is the beginning of a new way of operating. A way where your peace is not constantly threatened. A way where your energy is not constantly depleted. A way where your clarity remains intact. You are breaking the cycle. And once it is broken, your peace is no longer something you struggle to maintain. It becomes something that naturally remains. Type "I break the cycle" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 222 is now activated. Now that you are stepping out of exhaustion and reclaiming control over your energy, there is a deeper level you are being guided into. Because awareness alone is not your final strength. Control alone is not your final position. There is something greater that stabilizes everything you have begun to build, and that is stillness. Not silence in the physical sense, but stillness within your spirit. This is where your power becomes refined. This is where your peace becomes unshakable. And this is where most people struggle, because stillness requires something that distraction has trained you to avoid. It requires presence. It requires patience. It requires trust in what you feel, without the need to immediately react to it. Archangel Michael speaks into this moment with calm authority, and his voice carries a steady force. Stillness is not weakness. It is your greatest defense. You must understand what this means. Stillness is not doing nothing. Stillness is choosing not to be pulled. Because every thought that tries to rush you, every emotion that tries to provoke you, every situation that tries to demand an immediate reaction is testing your ability to remain grounded. And when you respond instantly without awareness, you step back into the cycle you just broke. But when you pause, when you observe, when you allow the moment to settle before you act, something powerful happens. You regain control of the direction. You are no longer reacting from pressure. You are responding from clarity. And that is where discernment begins to sharpen. Discernment is not just knowing what is right or wrong. It is recognizing what aligns and what does not, even when it appears subtle. It is the ability to feel the difference between truth and distortion without needing constant proof. And this ability grows strongest in stillness. Because when your mind is quiet, your awareness becomes louder. When your emotions are calm, your perception becomes clearer. When you are not rushing to respond, you begin to see what is actually happening beneath the surface. This is where you begin to notice things you once overlooked. The tone behind someone's words. The intention behind certain situations. The difference between what feels peaceful and what feels forced. These are not coincidences. This is discernment activating within you. And Archangel Michael reinforces this shift with precision. Discernment will protect what awareness has revealed. Because awareness shows you the pattern, but discernment keeps you from falling back into it. It allows you to move differently, to choose differently, to remain steady even when something tries to disturb your peace. You may already feel this change happening. Moments where you pause instead of reacting. Moments where you observe instead of immediately engaging. Moments where you sense something is off without needing to analyze it completely. This is not hesitation. This is clarity forming. And the more you trust this, the stronger it becomes. Because discernment does not come from force. It comes from alignment. The more aligned you are with your peace, the easier it becomes to recognize what does not belong. And once you recognize it, you no longer need to fight it. You simply do not allow it to enter your space. This is where your peace becomes protected without effort, because you are no longer open to everything. You are selective, intentional, aware of what you allow and what you release. Archangel Michael stands firm in this moment, and his presence carries a sense of calm authority. You do not need to engage every battle to win. You need to recognize which ones are not yours. This is where stillness becomes your shield. Because when you are still, you are not easily provoked. When you are grounded, you are not easily influenced. When you are clear, you are not easily confused. And this changes how everything affects you. Situations that once pulled you in will now pass without impact. Thoughts that once demanded your attention will now lose their urgency. People or environments that once drained you will now feel distant, not because they have changed, but because you have. You are no longer operating at the same level of awareness. You are no longer reacting from the same patterns. You are now moving with discernment. And discernment keeps your peace intact. This is the shift that stabilizes everything. Not constant effort, but consistent clarity. Not forced control, but natural alignment. Not reacting to everything, but choosing what deserves your response. You are stepping into a state where your peace is no longer easily shaken. Because stillness has anchored you, discernment has guided you, and awareness has prepared you. This is not temporary. This is a new level of how you move, how you think, and how you protect your internal state. So remain still when pressure tries to rush you. Remain observant when confusion tries to pull you in. Remain grounded when emotions try to rise too quickly. Because this is where your strength is now rooted. And from this place, your peace is no longer something that can be easily targeted. It becomes something that remains, regardless of what appears around you. Type "I remain still" and discerning in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 333 is now activated. As you step into this stillness, understand that your alignment is not only protecting you, it is becoming a light for others who are still caught in confusion and noise. Every message like this is a seed planted into hearts that are searching for clarity, and your support helps that seed reach further than you can see. The word declares that when you sow into good ground, the harvest multiplies beyond measure, and right now, you are standing in that moment of opportunity. I feel the call to act, to not just receive, but to release, knowing that what I give becomes part of someone else's breakthrough. This is not about giving to a channel. This is about fueling a mission that restores peace where it has been stolen. As you sow through Super Thanks or the PayPal link in the description, you activate a flow that returns back into your life with clarity, protection, and abundance. Do not delay this moment. Act now and become part of what heaven is expanding. Now that you have stepped into stillness and your discernment has begun to sharpen, there is a truth that must be faced with clarity. Because not everything that has been draining your peace is internal. Not every disturbance began with your thoughts. Not every weight you have carried originated within you. Some of it has come from what surrounds you. Some of it has come from who surrounds you. This is where discernment becomes even more important. Because it is no longer just about recognizing thoughts. It is about recognizing influence. Archangel Michael steps forward with a presence that is firm and unmistakable, and his voice carries a truth that may feel uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Not everything close to you is aligned with you. This is not meant to create fear. It is meant to create clarity. Because the closer something is to you, the more influence it has over your energy, your emotions, and your peace. You may have already felt this without fully acknowledging it. Certain environments that once felt neutral now feel heavy. Certain conversations that once felt normal now leave you drained. Certain people, even without saying much, shift your energy the moment you are around them. These are not random reactions. This is your discernment recognizing misalignment. And this is where many people hesitate. Because it is easier to question yourself than to question what surrounds you. It is easier to assume you are overthinking than to accept that something around you may not be right for you anymore. But this is the truth you are being guided to see. You are not the same person you were before. And because you have changed, not everything around you will feel the same. Archangel Michael reveals this with clarity. As you rise, what is not aligned will begin to feel uncomfortable. This is not punishment. This is not loss. This is adjustment. Because your energy is no longer compatible with everything it once tolerated. Your awareness is no longer aligned with everything it once ignored. And this creates separation. Not always physically but energetically. You may notice that certain interactions feel forced. That certain dynamics feel draining rather than supportive. That certain people seem to carry a presence that unsettles your peace rather than strengthens it. This does not mean they are intentionally causing harm, but it does mean they are not aligned with where you are now. And alignment is what protects your peace. Because when you are aligned, your energy flows naturally. Your thoughts remain clear. Your emotions remain stable. But when you are misaligned, even slightly, your system feels it. You feel resistance. You feel tension. You feel the need to pull away, even if you cannot fully explain why. That feeling is not confusion. It is clarity trying to surface. Archangel Michael speaks firmly in this moment. Do not ignore what your spirit is revealing just because it is uncomfortable to accept. This is where your growth is being tested. Not in your ability to notice, but in your willingness to acknowledge. Because once you acknowledge it, you must respond to it. And response requires change. This does not always mean confrontation. It does not always mean separation in a dramatic sense. But it does mean boundaries. It means recognizing where your energy is respected and where it is depleted. It means choosing where you invest your attention. It means stepping back from what does not support your peace. This is not rejection. This is protection. And this is where many people struggle, because they confuse maintaining peace with maintaining connection. But the truth is, not every connection is meant to be maintained at the same level as you grow. Some connections were meant for a previous version of you. Some environments were meant for a phase you have now outgrown. And holding on to them out of familiarity will continue to drain you. You are not being called to isolate yourself. You are being guided to align yourself. To choose what supports your clarity. To remain connected to what strengthens your peace. To step away from what consistently unsettles your spirit. This is not selfish. This is necessary. Because your peace is not something you can afford to compromise repeatedly. Archangel Michael stands firmly in this truth, and his message is direct. What drains you consistently is not meant to remain close to you. This is not a judgment. It is a recognition. Because your energy is not unlimited. Your focus is not meant to be divided endlessly. Your peace is not meant to be negotiated. You are being guided to protect it, to honor it, to prioritize it. And the moment you begin to do this, something shifts. The same environments that once felt heavy begin to feel distant. The same interactions that once drained you begin to lose their hold. The same patterns that once repeated begin to break, because you are no longer allowing them to continue in the same way. You are choosing differently, and that choice changes everything. You are not withdrawing. You are realigning. You are not losing connection. You are refining it. You are not becoming distant. You are becoming clear. And clarity is what keeps your peace intact. This is the truth you needed to see. Not everything around you is meant to remain as it is. And that is not something to fear. It is something to accept. Because what aligns with your peace will remain, and what does not will naturally fall away. Type "I choose alignment" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 444 is now activated. Now that you have seen the pattern, now that you have recognized the influence, and now that you have begun to realign yourself, there is something you must understand about this moment. Because everything you have experienced up to this point has not been leading you into confusion. It has been leading you into a shift that is already forming, a shift that is already moving, a shift that is closer than you think. This is not just a phase you are passing through. This is a transition you are stepping into. And the pressure you have been feeling is not only resistance, it is also indication. Because before every shift becomes visible, it becomes felt. It begins as tension. It begins as discomfort. It begins as a sense that something is changing, even if you cannot fully explain it yet. Archangel Michael steps forward with a presence that carries certainty, and his voice is steady with assurance. What you are feeling is the edge of change. This is where everything begins to make sense. Because the same pressure that once confused you is now being revealed as preparation. You are not being pushed without purpose. You are being positioned. Think about everything that has been happening. The heightened awareness, the emotional shifts, the need to separate from what drains you, the desire for stillness, the clarity that is beginning to form. These are not isolated experiences. They are all part of the same movement. A movement toward alignment. A movement toward stability. A movement toward a version of yourself that operates differently. This is the shift. And once you recognize it, you stop resisting it. Because what feels uncomfortable is not here to harm you. It is here to move you. Archangel Michael reveals something deeper now. Something that changes how you see everything you have been experiencing. The attack increased because your shift is near. This is why the pressure intensified. This is why your peace felt targeted more than usual. Because when change is close, resistance becomes stronger. Not to stop you, but to test your awareness. To see if you will fall back into old patterns or step forward into clarity. And now, you are stepping forward. You are no longer reacting the same way. You are no longer thinking the same way. You are no longer allowing the same influences to affect you. That alone confirms that the shift has already begun. You are already moving. Even if your external environment has not fully changed yet. Because the first shift always happens within. And once it happens within, it begins to reflect outward. You may start to notice this soon. Situations that once felt complicated will begin to simplify. Decisions that once felt heavy will begin to feel clear. Interactions that once felt draining will begin to lose their hold. This is not coincidence. This is alignment taking effect. And alignment creates movement. Movement that is not forced. Movement that feels natural. Movement that carries you forward without resistance. This is what is approaching you now. But there is something you must remain aware of in this moment. Because the closer you get to the shift, the more important your awareness becomes. You cannot go back to operating the way you did before. You cannot return to the same patterns you have already recognized, because returning to them will delay what is already forming. Archangel Michael speaks with firm clarity here. Do not retreat when you are this close. This is where many people lose momentum. They feel the pressure of change, and instead of moving forward, they step back into what feels familiar. But what is familiar is what kept you in the same cycle, and you have already moved beyond that. So remain steady. Remain aware. Remain aligned with what you now understand. Because the shift does not require force. It requires consistency. Consistency in your awareness. Consistency in your boundaries. Consistency in your response. And the more consistent you are, the faster the shift stabilizes. You are not waiting for something to happen. You are already in the process of it happening. This is what you must hold on to. Because once you understand that the shift is already in motion, you stop looking for confirmation outside of yourself. You begin to trust what you feel internally. You begin to move with certainty instead of hesitation. And that certainty changes everything. Archangel Michael stands firmly in this moment, and his message carries both reassurance and strength. What is coming will match what you have become. This means the clarity you are building now will meet clarity in your environment. The peace you are protecting now will be reflected in your surroundings. The alignment you are choosing now will attract what aligns with you. This is not something distant. This is something near. Something forming. Something preparing to reveal itself. And you are being guided into it with awareness. So do not question this moment. Do not doubt the process. Do not assume that what you feel is without purpose, because everything you have experienced has been leading you here, to this shift, to this transition, to this new level of clarity. You are not stuck. You are not delayed. You are moving. And what is ahead of you will begin to confirm everything you are starting to understand now. Type "I step into my shift" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 888 is now activated. Now that you understand the shift, now that you feel the movement, there is something even more important that must be made clear to you in this moment. Because everything you have been shown, everything you have felt, and everything that is beginning to change is not happening without purpose. You are not just experiencing this shift. You are participating in it. This is where your role becomes undeniable. Because this is not just something happening around you. This is something requiring you. Archangel Michael steps forward with unwavering authority, and his voice carries a command that cannot be ignored. You are not a spectator in this. You are a participant. This changes everything. Because the moment you see yourself as a participant, your mindset shifts from passive to intentional. You no longer wait for peace to return. You actively protect it. You no longer hope for clarity. You maintain it. This is your role. To remain aligned when distraction appears. To remain still when pressure rises. To remain discerning when confusion tries to enter. This is what defines your position in this spiritual war. Because make no mistake, this is a war. Not one that is fought with noise or visible force, but one that is fought through awareness, through discipline, through consistency in how you think and how you respond. And the outcome of this war is not determined by external conditions. It is determined by your internal alignment. You may have once believed that peace would come when everything around you settled. But now you understand the truth. Peace is not something you wait for. It is something you hold. And holding it requires intention. Archangel Michael reveals something crucial here. Victory is not given to those who avoid the battle. It is given to those who remain steady within it. This means you are not being removed from situations. You are being strengthened within them. You are learning how to stand firm regardless of what tries to influence you. And this is where your responsibility becomes clear. You must guard your mind, not by force but by awareness. You must protect your energy, not by isolation but by discernment. You must maintain your peace, not by controlling everything around you, but by choosing how you respond to it. This is your role, and it requires consistency. Because one moment of awareness is not enough. One decision to remain calm is not enough. This is a practice, a way of operating, a level of discipline that becomes natural the more you commit to it. You may notice now that situations still arise. Thoughts still appear. Emotions still move. But the difference is in how you meet them. You no longer absorb everything. You no longer react automatically. You pause. You observe. You choose. And every time you choose with awareness, you strengthen your position. Every time you remain grounded, you weaken the influence of what once disturbed you. Every time you protect your peace, you reinforce it. This is how you win. Not by eliminating every challenge, but by mastering your response to it. Archangel Michael stands firm in this truth, and his message carries both strength and clarity. The battle is not against you. It is around you. But your power is within you. This means you are not under attack in the way you once believed. You are being tested in your awareness. You are being strengthened in your alignment. And the more you understand this, the less personal it feels. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" And you begin to understand, this is happening around me, but it does not define me. That shift in perspective is powerful, because it removes fear. It removes confusion. It replaces reaction with control. You are no longer pulled into every situation. You are no longer affected by every thought. You are no longer shaken by every emotional wave. You are steady. You are grounded. You are aligned. And that alignment is your greatest strength. Because once you are aligned, nothing external can easily disrupt your internal state. This is what you are stepping into now. A level of control that is not forced, but natural. A level of awareness that does not fade but deepens. A level of peace that is not temporary but sustained. This is your role. To maintain this state. To remain aware of what enters your mind. To remain intentional with where your energy goes. To remain grounded in the clarity you have gained. Because the more you maintain this, the stronger it becomes. And the stronger it becomes, the less influence anything outside of you will have. You are not powerless in this. You are positioned. You are equipped. You are aware. And that awareness is what allows you to move forward without losing what you have regained. So stand firm. Remain steady. Continue choosing alignment. Because this is not just a moment. This is who you are becoming. Type "I stand firm" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1010 is now activated. Now we arrive at the moment everything has been leading toward. Not the beginning of your awareness. Not the recognition of the attack. Not even the understanding of the strategy. But the activation of your protection. Because everything you have seen, everything you have learned, and everything you have shifted within yourself has brought you into alignment with something greater than your own effort. It has brought you into alignment with divine covering. And this is where Archangel Michael does not simply guide you. He stands over you. With authority. With clarity. With finality. You must feel the weight of this moment. because this is not symbolic. This is not just comforting language. This is a declaration over your life right now. Archangel Michael speaks, and his voice carries a presence that settles everything within you. What has targeted your peace will no longer have the same access to you. This is the turning point, because protection is not about removing every external force. It is about restricting its influence over you. And that is exactly what is happening now. You are not the same person who first felt the disturbance. You are no longer unaware. You are no longer easily influenced. You are no longer reacting without understanding. You have moved through awareness, through alignment, through discipline, and now you stand in protection. This protection is not fragile. It is not temporary. It is established. You may begin to notice this immediately, or it may unfold gradually, but the result will be undeniable. The same thoughts that once lingered will begin to lose their hold. The same emotional weight that once followed you will begin to lift. The same sense of pressure that once surrounded your peace will begin to dissolve. Not because everything around you has changed, but because you have, and that change has activated a boundary. A boundary that is not visible but deeply effective. A boundary that filters what reaches you and what does not. A boundary that keeps your peace intact even when external conditions fluctuate. Archangel Michael reveals something powerful here, something that seals this moment. Protection follows alignment. This means what you have done internally has now created something externally. Your awareness, your stillness, your discernment, your discipline, all of it has positioned you under a covering that now moves with you. This is not something you need to force. This is something you carry. And once you carry it, everything begins to respond differently. Situations that once overwhelmed you will now pass without impact. People or environments that once drained you will no longer have the same access to your energy. Thoughts that once repeated endlessly will now fade without attachment. This is not avoidance. This is authority in motion. Because protection is not about isolating yourself from the world. It is about moving through it without losing yourself. And that is exactly what is now activated within you. Archangel Michael stands firm, and his presence reinforces this truth with certainty. You are no longer exposed in the way you once were. This does not mean challenges will disappear. It means their influence has changed. Their ability to disturb your peace has been reduced. Their ability to pull you out of alignment has been weakened. Because you are no longer operating from the same level. You are grounded. You are aware. You are aligned. And now you are covered. This is where your journey transforms from effort into embodiment. You are no longer trying to protect your peace. You are living in a state where your peace is protected. And that changes how you move forward. You do not walk with hesitation. You do not question every step. You do not feel easily shaken. You move with quiet confidence. You respond with calm clarity. You remain steady, even when the environment around you is not. This is what divine protection looks like. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. But it is undeniable. And from this point forward, you will begin to notice something even more powerful. The things that once felt like attacks will begin to feel like signals. Signals that no longer overwhelm you, but guide you. Signals that no longer confuse you, but confirm what you already know. Because you are no longer reacting from uncertainty. You are moving from clarity. And clarity is what keeps your peace stable. This is the completion of this moment. Not the end of your journey, but the establishment of your foundation. You are protected. You are aligned. You are steady. And nothing that once targeted your peace will operate the same way again. Hold on to this. Move with this. Remain in this. Because this is now your position. Type "I am divinely protected" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 2020 is now activated. As this protection settles over your life, understand this truth: every time you stand in your peace, you become a vessel through which God reaches others who are still under pressure. This message did not reach you by accident, and there are countless souls still waiting for this same clarity, this same covering, this same awakening. The Word declares that those who bring light into darkness will never walk in lack, and right now, your action becomes part of that light. I feel this call deeply within me, and I respond knowing that my giving is not ordinary. It is a seed placed into God's work. When you support through Super Thanks or the PayPal link in the description, you are not just giving. You are unlocking peace in someone else's life. This is a prophetic moment, and your response carries eternal impact. As you release your seed, heaven releases protection, clarity, and overflow back into your life. Act now and step fully into this divine flow.